In today's clip, I'm going to reveal a bunch of common and popular side hustles that's been normalized in this day and age that are actually terrible ideas, especially if you have any intention of trying to retire early. Hey, XenPuck here. So because I care about financial independence, I see a lot of emphasis on people not currently satisfied with their main jobs who are looking for side hustles to supplement their income, right? Or maybe they've bought into the culture of side hustles and side gigs and believe that this type of work can now suffice as a way to make a living entirely. Alas, I hate to burst people's bubbles, but that is extremely unlikely. In fact, I think the real issue is how most people can't seem to see that the most popular side hustles are absolutely not appropriate for most reasonable people who want to make money, right? As there are significant institutional level risks that threaten their viabilities. So let's review some of the most popular ones. Now, the first group, there's actually two slightly similar types, right? As functionally, they're very similar. And these are the ride sharing in the form of Uber and Lyft, and food delivery like DoorDash and so on, right? I'm counting both of these groups in the same larger category because essentially your job is to be a driver, because you're either delivering people or food. The difference between the two groups is the product, but really you make money via driving your car. Now, ride-sharing's been around for a bit longer, so I'll primarily concentrate my criticism on that, right? Do these gigs make a person a quick buck? Yes, they can, right? So if you're running low on rent or bills, like electricity bills, some generic bills, maybe you just go join in one of these companies as a driver and feverishly work until you get the funds that you need. That sounds fine, right? It's really not, because you've just made enough to pay your bills and you're basically leveraging your future for the immediate, days up ahead, right? Because since a driver is not an employee but an independent contractor, you are already, in this scenario, you're not taking into account taxes that you owe, the wear and tear on your car, depreciation, not to mention that no one pays you for while you're waiting for rides. Now, these independent contractor via car companies sell people on flexibility, but really all they do is shirk responsibility that a regular cab company would have had in the past, right? The only party making real money is the Uber, Lyft, DoorDashes of the world, right? Not you, the driver, right? Their high level of advertising and marketing should tell you that they need people as drivers. They sell you on some pipe dream about how you could fit driving on your own schedule, when in fact, it's actually impossible to make a living unless you do this full time, right? So if you have a regular job and you want to Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash on the side, just be prepared to double or triple your hours, right? Also, there's a general problem with this, which is that if you do this as a job, driving is not really a transferable skill at all to any other field. So any amount of hours that you sink into this type of side hustle, there's also opportunity cost, right? It's taking time away from concentrating on what will actually create real long-term value for each individual, right? Because everyone can drive in this country, right? Every single driver, delivery person will eventually be replaced by automation or drones. That's just the truth, right? It's just a matter of time. Look, am I saying that this is the worst type of job? No, okay, definitely not. I've worked at fast food places as a teen, and that was a dirty, greasy job. At least driving keeps you away from that. That's something, right? But if you're thinking ride-sharing or food delivery is anything but the bottom of the pile in terms of gig work, well, just try it. And I think you'll figure out the lesson the hard way, right? Next up on the side hustle train. Ah, yes. Start a blog or a YouTube channel. Sure, absolutely. There are amazing blogs and channels out there, content creators, that gets read or watched over and over again and generate cash for the owner, even years in the future, right? Once the owner doesn't have to do much. That's true. We all love anecdotal evidence. The problem here is several-fold, okay? One, most people can't write. Evidence can easily be seen in the internet comments of any website or app whatsoever. The vast majority of human beings can barely string together 3 thoughts into a coherent sentence, even when insulting each other anonymously. Okay, so you think that somehow everyone can all of a sudden do long-form writing? Yeah, no. Okay. 2, you do need a subject matter that you know in depth and are passionate about, that you're an expert in. So that requires a level of focus that, once again, most people do not possess, okay? And I'm not going to count being a sports team fan or liking Starbucks, okay? If we're being basic. Number 3, the lead-in time towards monetization for blog or influencer-based type of thing, on average, is years, and most people simply do not have that level of patience. This is America. We want our satisfaction immediately, practically yesterday. The idea of having to wait 5 to 10 years for a result is just so anti-American, isn't it? I mean, that's the only solace I have for my little YouTube channel, because I know that, well, probably tens of thousands of people would have started their own little channels or blogs or whatever at the same time as when I started. The likelihood of me outlasting them is significant, simply because I adore patience. The truth of the matter is that this type of endeavor could actually be a fantastic side hustle and could actually replace your main job if you give it 5 to 10 years, right? But it's only ever going to work for a very minor proportion of the population. So I'm just always surprised that this type of work is usually very high up on the best side hustle list, because this is just getting people's hopes up and totally unrealistic, okay? Number 3, this one I like as a side hustle. eBay yourself and eventually get to buy and resell stuff, presumably old stuff, online. I'm not talking drop shipping here, okay, because that can barely qualify as a side gig. That's like a whole gig. This whole eBay as a side gig seems to be appropriate for a very specific type of person, right? Now, I'm also talking about people who are trying to encourage each other to be more minimalistic, right, while selling off stuff. And if you get good at this, you can start doing eBay all the time, right? Again, multiple issues with this. First of all, if you started off with a ton of your own stuff to sell, this simply indicates a whole major lifestyle risk, right? Unless you accompany the selling with a total mental refresh, most people just revert back to the mean of what they used to do in life, right? So the real issue isn't selling what you have, but how to prevent accumulation of even more stuff afterwards, right? A disciplined individual wouldn't have had stuff to sell on eBay to begin with. All right, and the transition into buying and selling stuff is just plain silly. You know what the side gig should actually be renamed? Well, you've officially simply become a businessman, okay? Buying and reselling stuff is not a side gig. That is the most basic form of capitalism, right? And if you somehow figured out a great system, optimized system to do that, a much larger company would have found it already, okay? And if somehow you're amazing and found something new, they will copy it off of you, right? And they will copy it off of you and do it more efficiently. Why? Because an individual does not have the economy of scales to compete with method and process alone. So unless you have tech, which would be amazing, you're not just buying and selling, you know, used crap anymore, right? Now we're talking about a technology platform. But if we're just talking about you saying, hey, I found a good niche and a deal, yeah, that will get you all scooped up by a larger competitor in no time, right? Again, you can avoid this by simply remaining very small and niche, maybe make enough to pay some basic bills, but for fire purposes, this would not be possible. It's simply not scalable, okay? Well, those are just my opinions. Do you guys know any other side hustles that are basically hustling you? Or what about the few side gigs that do have real potential? Please feel free to share and correct me in the comments below. Sub and share, all that jazz. Hope you guys are having a great day, and cheers.